Hello, everyone. Happy Friday, happy hour. You guys, we made it. Whew. And last week, Aubrey and I, we needed to have Friday to do other things, but we're happy to be able to jump right on and talk about homeschooling and fall. So we are so excited. While we're waiting for people to jump on and for Aubrey to jump on, I wanted to let you know that Aubrey and I, we talk about a subject matter, but we actually just go with the flow, and we actually don't have a script. So you will notice that throughout our conversations. If you are on and you have questions, even if you're watching the replay, put hashtag replay. Hey, Aubrey, she's here. Put, let me just invite her in. Hashtag replay. And, Aubrey, it says right now that nobody's here. Oh, are we going to go through this again? Aubrey, push the button. This happens to us every time we go on, don't we? Aubrey, push the button that says join. You should be able to push a join button. If you can't find it, let me know. For some reason, it says that nobody's here. Anyway, well, Aubrey and I figured this out. If you have questions about homeschooling, particularly about right now, this fall and winter time, please ask them in the comments now. If you're watching the replay, please place the hashtag replay and ask your questions. Aubrey and I, we read every single comment that is on here. This also is uploaded to my YouTube channel, 4 Seasons Homeschooling Club, as part of the Sacred Sisterhood Tribe. So if you go to Sacred Sisterhood Tribe, you can go to the subject. Yeah, there we go. Bring them on camera. Perfect. And you'll be able to find the replay of Aubrey is coming on any moment. She's here. You're upside down. Right back up. And again, if you're here, let us know that you're here. I think Aubrey is just going to figure out her camera situation. Aubrey's doing a handstand. Dun, 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 dun. Aubrey will be here soon. So if you're here, please say hi. And when Aubrey... Okay, I think Aubrey just left us, and hopefully we'll do the same thing. And sometimes I can read comments. All right, here we go. We're going to invite, approve. Perfect. So stick with us. Yay! And I was just reminding people, we do not script any of this. So we don't chat, we don't talk about things because, you know, we're at home homeschooling, moms doing other things. And so just like everybody else, we're just like, hey, we think we can help people by coming on here and just chatting. And so please, again, leave your comments. If you're here, we want to know. How are you?
I'm good.
Good.
Dressed. We did grocery shopping this morning. Like
good stuff.
Yeah, just freezer meals shopping, so it's enough to last us a couple of months, but we're good.
Awesome. Yeah, there was some prices on meat that were so cheap here in Maine that, at least in our area, that this would be the time that if people are feeling they need to prepare because of what's going on in the world, this is another good time. Also, I just got our bucket of freeze-dried fruit and vegetables, and that should last us a really long time. So if anybody is curious about that, I can put that, just leave a comment and I'll put that in the link. But I know that's not what we're talking about. But anyway, so we're talking about fall.
Yes, we're kind of talking about it. I mean, letting things go and preparing.
Well, and that is what fall is, and that's fall within our bodies. So I know Aubrey said, hey, I teach this program for women as part of our Sacred Sisterhood Tribe, and we're just kind of spilling it over into here to maybe help moms and their girls be able to, hey, I'm feeling this way. Why am I feeling this way? And how can I honor that within my body? And why am I getting frustrated, overwhelmed? Why am I, especially my girls and boys, throwing temper tantrums and really like things are just out of sort? Does it have to do with what's going on in the world? What is this? And what can I do as part of my homeschool program? Does that sound about right, Aubrey? I'm just guessing.
Yeah, no, I mean that it's been rough here, and we've been having to like rearrange our routine, and we're dumping some things that just haven't been working for us and trying to find new things that do. So that's what we've been focusing on this month, finding what's working now, because what we started with just isn't working anymore. One of those doesn't work forever kind of things.
So, and Aubrey and I have a backstory. Aubrey and I have been she took my class back last this last summer. And so we have been chatting a little bit about this, but to kind of give a little bit of an insight on Aubrey's um, homeschooling, her program, or you're not calling it a school? Harmony, is it Harmony
Yeah, it's
Community?
not a school, but
Okay.
it's just a community thing.
So I actually teach a collections. It's really for the mom, um, but it includes a portion for, I call them tiny seedlings, and they're it within her program. So if you get through today and you're like, hey, this might sound great for me, you can go and be a member. How much is your membership?
Well, it's 75 a year, um, but in November we're going to be having a Black Friday sale, so I'm really excited about that. I've been working with somebody. I'm like, I want a sale. So yeah, but
Awesome.
I can't talk about it now because it's not November yet.
Yes. No, don't get ahead. Don't get ahead. So when you sign up for Harmony School, then the collections are there. If you want to go deeper into it, I do have a club separate, but definitely first go to the Harmony site and you'll be able to be part of this class, and it's included in your Harmony membership. Like, how cool is that? So what this is fall, all about fall, and that's what Aubrey we had talked about really concentrating on. And what does fall mean in homeschooling? And fall in homeschooling means different to me than the typical homeschool or public private school families. And it's because this is when Sophia and I, our year is almost to an end. So when families are working with school, they're just starting in the fall, where we are ending in the fall and we start in the spring. And we do this because, or Sophia and I do this because that is biologically um, going in the biological rhythms of our bodies and of the seasons. So a woman's body, am I doing okay, Aubrey?
No, you're doing great. I'm actually
Okay.
listening because
Like,
that
we
that actually sounds like a great idea. I love this. Take the holidays off and the whole winter off and not have to worry about it.
Yeah, and and if you think so, what I teach is a woman's body has organically and biologically the four seasons within her body. And same thing with our tiny seedlings or our girls. Boys and men also have them, but their biological system goes within a 24-hour 7 day a week. So they're the same, which is why having the boys do the same schedule and the same thing consistently works really well for them, because biologically that's who they are. For a woman and our girls, that is not biologically and organically how our bodies work. We work depending on where we are in our menstrual cycle. And if we're with our girls who are not menstruating yet, they will follow the mom's menstrual cycle because it's still the same hormones, just not to the same level of extent, so they're not bleeding. But it's that same thing. So instead of going for every day's this system, we're going days. however many days. So when a woman is in the fall phase, or their girls are in the fall phase of their cycle, when they're in the actual fall, it intensifies everything. So things that happen in the fall for our girls within our bodies, which is what I teach, it's typically for 10 days. So in those 10 days for women and our girls, that's when it's organization, things that we're, as women and as girls, we create. And so all of those creations that we did within spring within our body or in the spring, that's when they're supposed to come to completion. So if somebody has procrastinated or given themselves too much work, or just it will feel overwhelming by fall, because it's that push, need, pull to get things done. Also, it's the completion of thoughts. And we do this. So think of yourself as getting ready to go to bed. So you're starting to wind down to go to bed. And what happens biologically with women and our girls and the school system is that when things we want to rev up, oh, we're getting sleepy, which is what we're supposed to be doing. We're supposed to be winding down and completing things. Instead, we're like, oh my God, we're tired, so we gotta rev up, and we gotta do whatever we can to go push, 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 when that's going completely against our biological rhythm. So the fall is about completing tasks so that you can go into hibernation, into sleep, into rest. And because your body, when we go into menstruation in the winter, which is the phase of our winter cycle, or going into winter, that's when we're supposed to be, humans, mammals, are supposed to be resting. Doesn't mean we have to fully go into hibernation, but it just means this is the time to rest our brains. And for people that have faith, a faith-based religion or belief system, this is when we have that uppermost connection to whatever that belief system is. So by having that rest, we can rejuvenate, just like when we sleep at night. So if we give our chance itself to sleep, by the time spring comes along, we're full of energy and we want to create, 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 but you can't create unless you rest. So this is all about that completion. Fall is all about finishing up all of our tasks, all of our learning, all of our work, so that we can go into sleep, and letting go of things that, oh, we're not going to have time to be able to do that. Kind of like you want to watch that one more, like you're watching this like series and you're like, I just have one more, and it's like, no, I have to go to bed. I can't watch that last 30 minutes of that series because you have to go to bed. So that's, you can watch it when you wake up. And so that's that same concept. So yeah, so this is all about organization, completion, letting go of things that you know you're not going to be able to complete by winter. And so this is just the time to kind of relax. And
Mm-hmm.
this is also when it comes to biologically your body, especially as women. This is when, and we can feel this tension. Our girls can feel it too. I know Sophia is feeling it right now. This is when the progesterone, estrogen, and our testosterone as women are at its peak. And it peaks right before our bleed going into our winter season. So we're going to feel pressure, pressure, pressure. And that's, those hormones are driving us to be able to have the energy to complete. So we're going to have a lot of energy. We're going to want to mingle with people, be with people, complete those tasks, go, 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 go. And then all of a sudden, right before we bleed, we're going to feel that crash and that dip. And it's quick. It's kind of like a roller coaster dip. And then we're going to be like, whew. And that's when you know that it's time for your body to kind of fold in and start to go, okay, now it's time for winter. So
So
that was a
what
mouthful.
so I have a question.
Yes.
What do you recommend for moms of boys? Because I'm feeling like you just explained, like I've been going. Okay, I'm ready to, like, I'm getting into where I'm just like, okay, I'm done. But I mean, I have two boys who thrive on routine. Let's do the same thing every day in the same order. So what do you recommend for moms who have their own schedule, but they also have boys? And I live in a house full of men, so I kind of have to go on their schedule, but still have my own that I'm trying to focus on so I don't burn out.
That is the most perfect question in the whole wide world. So, in the
Now
it
you go.
in your spring phase of your cycle, which is the day after your last bleed, that is your creativity. So for now, if you're like, oh, I didn't prepare anything for this, it's okay. So if you can think of some busy boxes or busy things for them to do, so it's just good to know where boys' hormones are, so you can prepare it, because this is your organization. So if you're not in bleeding yet, then you can get that organization in your head. But if you're struggling, it's okay. Struggle this time, but then this next month, after the day after your last bleed, focus your energy on thinking, what can I do to have things already prepared for them for when my hormones dip, and now it's time for them to kind of do things not on their own, but where you can be a little bit more calm. So it's preparing, knowing that you're going to go into that dip and into that hibernation part. So their dip is they go into winter. Whoops, I'm getting a little bit of feedback. They're going into hibernation right around 3 o'clock. That's just where it is. So they go into, which we would be menstruation. So it's about that 1 o'clock mark. It could be a little bit earlier. It could be 12:30, 12 is when they start heading into their fall season. So all of a sudden they're going to be like, I need to go outside. I don't know why I'm going, and it's around that 12:30 mark, and you can feel it. And they really want to socialize, or they want to do stuff. And then all of a sudden you notice, like 1 o'clock, 1:30, they're starting to slowly, like, what's going on? Their bodies are being kind of like, oh no. And, I can feel a shift happening. That's when they're starting to get a little sleepy. And so that's their best time to either sit in front of the computer, be organized. How did the morning go? What do we need to finish up? That's their fall phase. And then they're in their winter phase around that 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So really asking them to do a lot of high mental work is where those temper tantrums are going to be for those boys. So it's more of getting into their creativity. So that would be great for art lessons, Minecraft, things that they can just empty their brain and not really learn anything, but more like mathematics would be perfect for them right around then, because even though they're having to think, it's numbers, it's organization. So that's that perfect time for them. So right around that 1 o'clock to 3 o'clock mark with boys. And then for you, if you can prepare some creative things that they can do by themselves, in essence, like you could sit there with them, but it's low energy and not high energy. Did I answer that question?
Yes, you did.
Okay, good.
Yes.
I don't prepare anything, so I'm just like talking.
No, that's good to know. So
Yeah.
We're slowly finding the rhythm.
Yeah. And for the girls, like we make, and you'll see that as part of the videos in the collections as part of the Harmony School is we actually have boys and girls, because you can do your tree. We have the girls make a tree from the trunk, and then they change the leaves depending on the day that they are supposed to be learning, and those leaves will represent what they need to focus on that day. And so it helps, because then you, as a mom, you'll be able to recognize your own menstrual cycle. So for the boys, but there's also apps for women that can help them figure out where they are. So that can be super helpful too. Mm-hmm. So, but preparing for, and again, Sophia and I, we are ending our school year because biologically, we're supposed to be resting. So to ask Sophia and I to have active brains and really being able to engage in learning, just biologically just is hard to do. People can do it, but it's just harder. And in the spring, that's when they're just filling their brains up with information, which is why we end up doing more of for school, and we do a lot of schooling outside. Simply because, or reading outside, we read in hammocks, everything's about outside, because it's easier for our brain to absorb that information.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I do like the spring, summer, early fall, where we're outside. We do a lot of outside play and walk and learning and stuff. But the winter, you can't really do that. So you're kind of stuck.
Well, and I think winter, like Sophie and I, what we usually do is that's when we get into doing like reading because we'll read books. Right now we're in the classroom, but I do not allow her to come up into the classroom. Like there's no book work, there's nothing. And we take, and also this is a time for us to focus on our spirituality. So this is all about really relating to kindness and to what spirituality means to us, and all about making crafts and giving and focusing really our energy for 8 weeks in that direction. And we do a full 8 weeks.
That's good.
Yeah, and it just kind of rejuvenates both of us. And then but it does make it a little complicated now that this year we have to deal with all the state stuff, because it
Yeah.
kind of messes up. And Aubrey, I have to ask you that for somebody like me who our classes start in the spring and end at the end of, how do you register, how do you figure out the whole submitting school?
So you don't have to um, submit your number of days until September 1st is the deadline. And you can
Oh,
start anytime. So if you're going to start counting your days from spring to like December or whatever, just plan ahead and start counting from day one to day one. And it doesn't matter when you get your 175 days, you just have to have that 175 days in anytime, but you just have to have your letter from a teacher or your test results or whatever you're choosing to do. You just have to have that put in with the state before September 1st of that year. So you can start, and she's turning 6 when, in March?
March 31st. So
Okay.
technically
So
she
you
doesn't.
don't even have to count your days until she turns 6. You don't have to have 175 days that first year.
Okay.
Because I was speaking to Pamela last year about one of the kids in the class or in our group. They were turning 6, but the compulsory age had just changed. So they said your first year you don't have to count all of your days, but you have to have your stuff submitted by September 1st. Hey, we turned 6, we did this many days, because you're not necessarily counting until they turn 6. But the
Gotcha.
next
So
year,
I'll have to submit everything by September. Anything that I do from her birthday to September.
mhm.
Did you say September
And
1st?
honestly, it's not hard to get to 175 days. It's really easy. Um,
That's
because
what it's like a
every
half a year.
day, yeah, and every day you're doing something that, I mean, you got to think how many days in like a public school setting, how many days are half days? How many of the days are teacher work days? How many of those days are field trips? How many of those days are you just, I remember being a substitute and so the teachers just said, hey, just pop in a video. So just, we don't have to keep that same rigorous schedule either that they have, as long as your child is making progress and they're doing well and they're actively learning. It's a day. So however that looks for anybody, and that's one thing that we are lucky to have, where we have that leniency still. We are allowed to choose how our days look, versus some states tell you you have to work on so many subjects each day or each week. But we have it pretty loose, where as long as you work on these subjects during the year, you're all good. So,
That's awesome. Yeah, I was wondering where we've been doing homeschool for a couple years. Like, I wanted to make sure that, like, can I really hack this? And then I was like, oh my gosh, I can hack this. So we've been doing it for a couple years now, and nothing like completely. And I did find an app that in a program that's free for teachers. It's Montessori, because we focus more on Montessori and forest school, that they just have where you just plug in the things that you've done, and it
oh,
creates a
cool.
portfolio, like picture, and just creates a portfolio. And I'm like, yes, because
You'll have to
my
drop it in
goal,
the link. Drop the link.
I will, because my friend just told me about it. And because my goal in life, how people and I hope that I can convey to other women, and especially homeschool moms, Our goal is to brag about how easy and peaceful our life is, not how busy we are. So, my goal is to spread across the world how our lives are. We want to brag how calm we are and how peaceful we are, not how like crazy and busy we are. And so, because it's such a new even though I've been teaching this for a long time, I still have been was brought up as everybody else, where you make a list, and the more busy you are, the more productive you are, the more successful you are, the more busy you are, and if you're busy, if you work hard, then you're going to be more successful. And what I learned throughout all the businesses that I've owned and all the things I've done throughout my life, that isn't necessarily the case.
Mm-hmm.
And the more peaceful that I have become, especially that's what Sophia has taught me, the more I'm like, oh my gosh, I want to brag about how peaceful I am and how easy life is, not how hard it is. And that's my goal, which is why I'm wanting to teach Sophia how to learn and move and eat biologically to a woman's world, and that way, and but then how to support and love our men, and asking for, hey, how can they support me, not like, oh, you're a boy, you're a man. No, like, it's perfect, it's a perfect synergy.
Mm-hmm.
But as women and as our girls just need to learn what works for them, and it's all about biology and how our brains work, and our brains are governed by our hormones. So once we get our hormones in check and we know what's going on with our bodies, our learning, our connections, how we move, how tired we are, how happy we are, how peaceful we are, all determines by us just simply knowing our own biological rhythms. Rebecca, there's a free app called Seesaw. Oh, that can be used to track and create portfolio. I had no idea about Seesaw, Rebecca. Thank
I'll have
you.
to look at that one. Yeah, thanks. Because I
Amazing.
still use the paper planners, and honestly, I have so many notebooks that I'm just like, an app would be really nice.
The less work, the better.
Yeah.
Hey. So,
But yeah. I don't know what I was just gonna say.
no, you're awesome. Did you have, like, we talk so well when you ask me questions, and I am so, like, I'm just trying to pull things.
Well, I know because our school year typically, I start tracking our days in July. Like July 1st is really the beginning of our school year. That's when I start like any field trips that we go. I mark it off and write
Oh,
it down. So yeah, Rebecca used to. That's what I do. I have like a calendar, and each day I write what we do, just so that I don't plan ahead. I plan ahead through the week, but then each day I mark down what we actually do. But
that's awesome.
because then because we do a lot of like field trips during the warmer months, because you can't do that many in the winter. So being able to count our field trips in July and August and September is a big deal. Obviously not this year, but um so that's when we start tracking in July. So usually by February, we've technically hit our 175 days, but we just keep
By
going.
February. Okay.
Yeah, we just keep going until we finished whatever our goals were for the school year. And then July 1st rolls around, and we're like, okay, we're wrapping it up. Let's start marking it down for the new year. Even if we haven't necessarily finished our old year, we can still continue until we've finished. But July 1st is when we've decided to start our school year, and then just so we can keep going. So that was like back on your, so really when you start isn't a big deal.
Awesome.
It's mostly as long as you have those days, you're good.
That's awesome. And then this first year, I don't have to worry about it because her birthday was in March.
And unless that's changed, but I don't think it's changed. So if you
Okay.
start, let's say you start March 1st. Let's just say March 1st is your start date?
start whatever I don't know what it is this year, but it's whatever the spring equinox is. So we start
Is it
our
March
phases.
21st or 22nd?
I
I don't remember.
It changes. So sometimes I
Yeah.
think flip-flops. Yeah, it's right at the end of March.
Yeah. So just start marking your days. And it's really, like I said, 175 days is not hard.
Mm-mm.
So.
That's awesome. That's really
like yesterday, we literally spent the whole day learning life science. And it was awesome. I actually learned some things.
That's awesome. That's what we did too. Like, isn't that funny? I did the same thing. Like Sophia, we have Worldly Wednesdays. So we make a meal that has to do with whatever part of the world she wants to learn about. And she's like, Mom, she's fascinated with ancient Greece. And she's like, Mom, she's like, what is Halloween like in when it was back in ancient Greece? And I'm like, isn't that, I would have never even thought to ask that. I'm like, I don't have a clue. We went through and found out so much cool things about ancient Greece and Halloween and how their Halloween is at the end of February.
Do they celebrate Halloween over there?
Yeah, it's I'm gonna botch the pronunciation, but it's called Apostille, and it's a masquerade ball that celebrates the goddess. Oh, it starts with a D. I can't think of her name, but it's like she's all about wine and celebration, and it's the marking. I like that. And it's all about which it makes so much more sense to me to celebrate that. It marks the end of spring and the beginning of fall. End of spring, end of winter and the beginning of spring. And it's a week-long celebration where everybody comes out and there's parades, and it's all has to do with Lent. And so they celebrate Lent together. It's just this huge celebration. And I'm like, isn't that that's so cool to me? So, but that's what we learned about on Worldly Wednesday, their version of Halloween.
Yeah, we get stuck on rabbit trails a lot. We'll start learning something and we'll be like, I wonder what would happen if, and then 2 hours go by and we're like, okay, well, school's done.
Yeah. Rebecca says we had a ton of appointments this week. So they read for 30 minutes and did math lesson each day. And that is it. Yes. That's awesome.
Well, that's on
counts.
On Thursdays, we have physical therapy, or I'm sorry, occupational therapy. And that's our school day, because that pretty much, by the time we get home and have lunch, it's already 1, 2 o'clock. So that's our day. We do a couple things in the morning. We do some reading, and then we go to therapy, and then we come home, and he does like one of his little journals that kind of includes all subjects, and that's really it. So because I know that therapy tires him out, so we just don't expect much on those days. So I mean,
I think that's awesome. I think that, like, for Sophia and I, like, again, this is all about fall, right? We were trying to do Tiny Seedlings, which is a program. It reminds me a lot of Forest School, but I was like, oh, she gets to be with kids, even though it's virtual. And I realized that her dance days and doing this Tiny Seedlings was way too much for her. And so we completely let that go. And it's interesting how, just, again, it goes back to biology. Like, we have so much, like, that was when I was we were in the spring phase of our cycle. And so we were like, yeah, the beginning of the month. And then by the time fall, I'm like, yeah, this sucks. Yeah. Like, we're going to do one thing at a time and be okay with that.
I tend to over plan, like when I plan out our school year and I write out our curriculum, and I tend to be like, oh, we're going to learn this for science, and we're going to learn this and I'll do like 4 or 5 different segments, and we really only do 3 in a school year. So
well, and that goes back to, working within your biology. And so when doing those segments or those lessons for women, and this is, I can go with what we were talking about, is making sure that we do not make up our schedule or our list as homeschool moms until we're in the luteal phase or the fall phase of our menstrual cycle. Because if we try making up lists in the spring or summer during our high energy, like creative process, we are going to organically overload ourselves to the point that we're like, this
Yep.
is a goal, meaning we're going to reach that goal. Like, because we're women, like if we have something we want to do, we're going to do it. It's so hard for us to let go. But making a rookie mistake, Aubrey. I do it too. But making sure that we do not write down those lists until our luteal phase of our cycle or our fall phase of our cycle. That way we can be like, okay, realistically, that was nice. It's a nice thought. And so you can, and that's the thing, like when it comes to creating a curriculum or creating a goal for the year, making sure that in the spring is when we're organically creative, that whole month of that whole span of spring. But when we focus on that creative part during the follicular phase or the spring phase of our cycle, but not having a plan, not actually writing it down and saying, okay, this is going to be the schedule until our luteal phase, because that's when we're supposed to make lists and organize. So we kind of think about it and put it out there to the world. And then during the summer phase of our cycle, and then that luteal phase. So it does take a full 28-day cycle, or depending on somebody's menstrual cycle, 28-day cycle before we can have a peaceful, calm homeschooling schedule for the full year. So making sure that we're resting in the winter enough so that when that happens, that we can be focused enough, we can
So,
and focus.
so realistically, I should be planning now what the next 4 weeks looks like.
Yes. Are you in your fall phase?
I'm in the same as you.
Oh, yes.
Whatever you're in.
Yes. Well, it depends. It depends, because I know I'm a couple. I know how we synced up, like, for some reason. That was awesome. Well, we know what, but yeah. But okay, so I am in the phase where I can tell I'm starting to dip, because I felt a lot of pressure yesterday, and I even had a headache. There was like, I'm overwhelmed. I was crying yesterday. Like, it was too, like, the house was full. I was like, the house was bugging me, that everything was bugging me. And like politics and friends, and I just was like, blah, and I'm like, oh, I know what that is. So I'm like, okay, so that is when, like, okay, I didn't complete everything. So today my hormones are starting to do that roller coaster dip down. So now I'm feeling like, like that pressure starting to come off. And so now it's time for me to hibernate. But that does mean that, so actually, if you have today probably to go, whatever you're going to schedule for this next month, for the rest of your cycle, do that. And if you have schedules you need to do, but you should be resting probably in the next couple of days. So you not to put a lot of stress.
Well, and that's like, we did grocery shopping. I'm packing up all the freezer meals today, and then I'm working on our schedule today, just because I do have energy today. I feel it.
Okay, you have energy
all right,
today.
let's get her done.
Yes. Then this is your this is like when your garden. So think of your body as, this is the garden. This is all your garden has fruits and vegetables. So you're like, I have so much gratitude that I have so much, but now I've got to harvest. And this is the last of your energy for you to actually harvest and get everything completed, because probably tomorrow or the day after, you're going to be like, you're going to just, hopefully you're going to crash. And you have to, so if you honor this push today, you'll probably notice tomorrow you've got to, so yeah, I would just finish up whatever you can finish up today. And then you're organically going to, after your last bleed, you're going to want to start creating again. So try to be like, okay, I'm not going to create, but I'm going to have happy intentions to get whatever happened left over completed. So a lot of times we have tasks that take us 2 menstrual cycles to complete, or 2 seasons to complete.
Mhm.
I have my goal for the website and the stuff projects that I'm working on. I'm expecting um, 3 menstrual cycles completely to complete my task. And I know that as I schedule it ahead of time. So my goal is to have it completed for right before winter starts. And that way I can kind of go to sleep and work on my book, which is not really working. It's kind of like just flying with words, just going with the words. so yeah, so probably you will be one more menstrual cycle before you can really get organized and get whatever needs to get done.
That's good to know. Okay.
That was long-winded, sorry.
You're fine.
So don't put a lot of pressure. You're at the tail end of it. Just harvest as much as you can harvest today.
Okay. I gotta focus on getting my freezer meals done.
Freezer meat. I know, that's so exciting that you're doing that. Do you have a freezer at home that you can do all that with?
I do. I have a deep freezer, and I used to do it like in August or September. I would start planning it, and then again in December, because then I would get an extra turkey for Thanksgiving. So then I'd start a whole nother couple of months. But this time I wanted to get ahead of that. So, because we just finished our last one, and I'm like, okay, it's time to stock up again. But I wanted, instead of just doing it a month at a time, I like to kind of have an extra month in the freezer just in case. So I've got enough for like 3 months now.
Well, and that's perfect because really biologically as women, we're like, we need to prepare for winter so we don't have to do a lot for winter. So it
Yes.
just naturally, it hasn't been too many generations before us that just naturally did this. It wasn't anything that they had to work for or they had to even think about. It just naturally happened, is preparing for fall for the wind down. I know a lot of parents who started the wind up, and just be kind and easy with yourself, knowing that it's to really be busy during this time isn't organically biologically where we're supposed to be. And so just being easy with yourself as a homeschool family, knowing that this is not supposed to be a high energy. This is supposed to be strengthening, gratitude, winding down, resting. So yeah, just be easy with yourself if you're trying to rev up during this time when your body and your mind and your hormones are, even with boys, are trying to wind down.
Okay.
So
Good to know.
I know we've had some people and lost some people, but if anybody has any questions for me or for Aubrey, write them in the comments. We do notice every single one of them, and we want to answer any questions that you might have, so or might come up, or comment.
Yeah. And speaking of freezer meals, I do
Yes.
have to go
Yes.
because it's already 3:30 and I haven't started yet.
What time is it? 3:30? How did this
3:30.
happen? Aubrey, we just get talking.
Yep.
All right. This was awesome. I hope I've helped. I hope I helped you. I hope I helped anybody that's listening. And we will see. Are we going to try for next Friday?
Why not? Let's
Perfect.
do it.
We don't know what we're going to talk about, but we'll let you know when it happens.
Pretty much, yeah.
This will be up on YouTube. Giving everybody, the homeschool families, a big hug, and anybody that's part of the Sacred Sisterhood Tribe, and Aubrey, giving you a great big hug. Enjoy your free meals.
You.
And don't forget to sign up for Harmony School, because my collection is there. So if you want to learn more, it's free right through Aubrey's program. So don't forget to do that.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yep.
All right.
So,
I'll see you later. Talk to you later.
sounds good.
Bye.
Bye.